You know, this morning I'm going to use something from Oprah. I love Oprah. I think Oprah's a world changer. But, you know, in all of the mystery schools, they always said this: know thyself. And today, that's what I'm going to ask you. Do you really know yourself? So this is the question. If I ask you, what do you know for sure? You know, Oprah wrote a book saying what I know for sure. But I don't know if she really realized what we're going to talk about today. But if I ask you this morning, what do you know for sure? You know, that is a complicated question. And it's answered, it can be answered in many levels. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want you to see the dimensions that we live in. And it may not be, we may not be thinking of such a deeper level, but a deeper meaning is going on within yourself. So let me explain what I'm saying. Right now, this morning, if I said, what do I believe? I'd say, I believe I'm all dressed like a woman, standing on a stage, and I'm looking at a group of people, like-minded people, and I'm speaking. And you're sitting on chairs. You know, all of you are sitting on chairs. So on a deeper level, though, on a subatomic level, you know what? That's not really true. On a subatomic level, you're not sitting on a chair that's still, and it's at peace, and it's solid. What you're sitting on is atoms and molecules that are spinning, and that look like they're solid, but it's really not true. And the same with me. I may look solid, like I'm dressed, and I'm standing on this stage, but in reality, this stage, the only reason we see this stage is like what I said last week. It's when that fan goes so fast that it looks like it's solid, but in reality, it's not. And that's the same with what right now. And this is what science has found out. 99% of your universe, you can't see because of your senses. We only perceive 1% of our universe. Is that a phenomenon? In other words, what's going on in this room today, what we're all saying is our truth, what we know to be true, only 1% of it can we really see what's happening. And 99% is in an invisible realm. So your chair, sitting on at that level, but on a deeper level, it's not true. I'm not standing in a room with all these people sitting on chairs. I'm not standing on a stage. In another level, it's totally different. An example is this. At one level, I can say that the Emerald Tablets written by Thoth, which I'm going to give, next week, I'm going to give an introduction to the Emerald Tablets, because I'm going to be having classes in September about them. They're life-changing. Every single spiritual path goes back to the Emerald Tablets. The Emerald Tablets are the missing piece of everything. And they are the alchemy. It's the transformation. We talk about transformation. You know, Jesus took them up on the mountain. He said to his disciples, until you see the kingdom coming, you're not going to taste death. So he takes them up to this mountain, which is higher consciousness, and he transforms himself back into light. And the alchemy all comes from the Emerald Tablets. It's all about how to transform our lives and really ascend this physical realm. You know, Jesus said, as long as you're in the world, as long as we're in this time-space compendium, you're going to have tribulation, you're going to have problems, you're going to have ups and downs. But he said, get happy, because I've overcome the time-space compendium, and so can you. And that's what the Emerald Tablets are all about. How do we transform out of this world that looks like it's going crazy right now? How do we elevate out of that? And how do we transform our body, transmute our bodies? You know, that butterfly is such a picture of that. It's not a caterpillar with wings. It's a huge a shift in DNA when it comes out. It transforms, and that's what's in store for humanity. But anyway, so it's those Emerald Tablets, I could say, I said all that to say this. At the one level, the Emerald Tablets have changed my life, and they're supposedly written by Thoth or Hermes. But on another level, from where did that consciousness come from that wrote those Emerald Tablets? Or Wayne Dyer's books. Say Wayne Dyer's books. Where did that consciousness come? His books also changed my life. But as he would say, that consciousness comes from a cosmic consciousness that uses a being to flow through it to bring that information to the earth. So we can see on a deeper level this question, what do I believe? You know, what do I really know for sure? If I asked you that this morning, just think, how would you answer? If I said to you personally, what do you know for sure? When you leave here today, you may answer it in a little different way. Well, this morning, I know for sure that I'm here with a group, like I said, of like-minded people, 11 o'clock, and I'm speaking, 11 o'clock. But at another level, there's no such thing as time. Hello? No such thing as time. So according to the perception, our perception, we think the past is gone, and we think the future is something that's coming, don't we? That's how the dimension that we live in, this 3D dimension, that's how we work. But ancient texts like the Kabbalah, which I've also been studying, written thousands of years ago, and now science backs this up, says time is simply an illusion. How about that? And I'm going to tell you an example of that. And the only thing that really moves, the only thing that has ever moved is our consciousness, our minds. That's the only thing that's moving. An example is, imagine yourself on a train. How many of you have been on a train? Or a bus? A train or a bus, it could be either one. But all of a sudden you're gazing out the window and it looks like all the hills are going by and the landscape's going by and the towns are going by. But in reality, what's moving? Only you. Only you are moving. All that stuff, our senses trick us. And really, our 5 senses keep us in this matrix. And really, all what we're going to talk about today is really moving beyond these 5 senses because they are so limitless. So it reveals, but the Kabbalah now says too, reveals that the movement of time is actually an illusion of the 5 senses. And in the 20th century, Albert Einstein said the same thing. He said, time is an illusion. So we see this within movies, don't we? How many of us have gone to a movie? And we see this action scene, and it looks like the film is rolling, and all this action is going on. But in reality, it's one slide at a time. And then when we're halfway through the movie, we feel like half the movie has gone away, and we feel like the rest of the movie is coming, and in reality, it's still on one big reel right there. It hasn't gone away. You see, we're tricked into these illusions of time. And I want to read something. So it's really on one large reel, constantly, the whole movie is here. And that's the same with our universe right now. Everything is here. Everything. It's one big whole. But we're looking at it from these 5 senses. And we're looking at it like time is going back, like our past is behind us and the future's in front of us. But it's not true. And I want to read something from the Bible. It says this. And I've read this a couple of times because I'm saying that every single thing in this physical realm is really a tool in a metaphysical realm. It's pointing us to something beyond our sight. It says this. From the creation of the world, the invisible things of Him, all it is, the universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it, are clearly seen, being understood through the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they're without excuse. What it's saying that every physical thing, our zodiac, every single thing in your life, the money we just put in that offering, whatever it is in this physical realm, is showing us a truth in an invisible, deeper realm if we can see it. Christ used to say all the time, if you have eyes to see, if you have ears to hear, and He wasn't talking to deaf mutes. He was talking to people like you. I could say the same thing today. If you have eyes to see beyond the 5 senses, if you have ears to hear beyond the 5 senses, there's more, 99% more than what you're seeing right now. So this physical realm and the large reel of film are allegories for a metaphysical, invisible realm that really is where truth resides. This is not where truth resides. And how many of you are feeling detached right now in some ways? You know, sometimes when you meditate and you come back in, I was talking to somebody the other day and they were saying, you know, it's like nothing in the room is real when they come back out of meditation. It's like there's a dream going on. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit more too. And our physical realm represents a single image on this movie screen of our life. And time is the movie reel running along the projector. And I want to say, many of you have heard this, but I'm going to put it in here. I had experience about a year ago. I went into Staples. You'll just have to bear with me if you've heard it 10 times. But I went into Staples, and when I went in with this other woman, and when we go in, there's a table, and on the table it said 1 cent paper. I said, oh my God, big sign with 1 and a cent mark. And I said, oh my God, 1 cent copy paper, big thing of it. I picked it up in my hands, put it down, because we had to go to the back of the store to get something. I thought, I'm not going to carry this heavy copy paper to the back of the store. So when I come back to the front of the store where I thought the stand was, it said $4.99, something like that, $3.99, $4.99. I said, where'd the sign go? So I went over to the lady and I said, did you just move, this display around? She said, no. I said, well, I had seen something that said 1 cent. She said, well, I don't know. So anyway, we kept on walking around everything, but it bothered me because I said to the lady that was with me, I said, did you see that 1 cent sign? She said, yeah, I saw the 1 cent sign. So it kept bothering me. So I went to the other lady. I said, let me ask you something. Was there ever a 1 cent sign that said paper for 1 cent? And she said, yes, but we took it down before the store opened. So what happened? What happened? This is what happened. Somehow my consciousness went backwards, the movie reel, and it caught a glimpse of what we call the past. And it's going to happen to all of us.
Right.
How about when you think about a friend? You haven't seen in a long, long time, and the next day you run into that friend. What happens there? Your movie, the reel, you get a glimpse of what we call the future. Or you get in the car and you start humming a song. This happens to me all the time. You're humming a song, and all of a sudden, the song comes on the radio.
Yes.
You see, we are multidimensional beings. We just haven't been taught those things. So again, I ask, what can I know for sure? What can you know for sure? If things are changing so radically, too. I don't know about you, but all the beliefs I had a year ago, it's like I want to get rid of them all now. Because, you know, they've probably been there all my life, but it's like they don't resonate anymore. Something so big is happening. So today, we're all here sharing this experience. But as we go deeper, what can we know for sure? Because everything can be questioned today. You know, how many of us, I've told the story of my aunt who was in a church for 50 years and got this big 50-year plaque, you know, she's been wearing around her neck and everything. And I said, you know, now we're questioning everything. We can't stay in one spot. So is this absolutely true as it seems to be right now? Or could I wake up tomorrow and say, you know, I think I dreamed that I was with a group of people over at NBOC yesterday. You know, what's real? Let me ask you this. The dream or when you wake up? Which one is the dream? That's another thing I've been thinking. And suddenly, it actually happens. So I shared my experience of when I was a child. I can remember being as a child, and I've said this before, but they go into examples. Remember sitting in a car in the back seat, and I was singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And you know, it goes, row, row, row your boat, merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And I was thinking to myself, you know, there is a dreamlike quality. I probably didn't think it in this way in my young mind because I was little, but I would think Christmas is coming. But it's going to evaporate as soon as it gets here. Or my birthday's coming. But it's like you can't even stand on that because it evaporates so fast. I knew it would evaporate so quickly, and they would be gone. Even like my childhood. I think about my childhood right now. I don't know if many of you feel that, but my parents have been gone for many years, and I think back on my childhood, and it's almost like a dream. Did it really happen? Were those really my parents? You know, things are fleeting and gone. You know, we're looking for this stability in this three-dimensional realm. It's not here. And that's another thing. So, and many great philosophers have said, life is but a dream. Life is a dream. And the truth, and it's true on some level, but that's what we say. On one level, yes, you're sitting here on one level. It's the truth for me today. But on a subatomic level, it's not. So nobody can prove what I said, what I'm doing right now, whether it's a dream or reality. Nobody can prove that. There are only dreams in all this. Or could it be one cosmic dream we're in right now? You know, there's so many things we're considering. So nobody can prove it. So we can know for sure if we're actually dreaming or not. So it means we're being pressed. This is what I think all of this is about right now. We are being pressed to go beyond the five senses. We are being pressed to come up higher. You know, all through Revelation it says, come up higher. Come up higher. Where you can eat the hidden manna. That means the invisible part of the metaphysical realm that has all of the answers in it. Come up to this higher dimension. Just like the Aquarian age when Yeshua said, go find the guy with the water pitcher. And men did not carry water pitchers in those days. Follow him to the upper room, what's all prepared for you. That's the upper consciousness, where everything is there for you. Everything, all the answers, everything. And we're in that day. So we're being pressed to find, what can I be sure of? What can you be sure of? If I ask you, what can you be sure of? Because if life is but a dream, or you know, so there has to be a consciousness. So this is the answer to part of the answer to the question. If life is a dream, whether I'm dreaming this, you guys right now, you're part of my dream or not, because sometimes I dream of some of you guys at night too. But whether I'm dreaming or not, there has to be a consciousness for the dream to be happening, and that's what's real. It's your consciousness that's real. It has to have a consciousness to appear. It has to be the light of consciousness for you to be experiencing this, or you would be experiencing nothing. So the real part of us, to know thyself, is the consciousness. So even if it is a dream, there has to be you that's experiencing the dream. So even if this is a dream, there's part of me, there's a me, not really called Mary Lou, that is experiencing this, that's here to experience that. And it's not my personality, called Mary Lou, or the mother that I am, or whatever it is, all of that, my history, but it's something deeper that's experiencing this. It's a presence where all this is appearing in the light of consciousness. And now we have reached a deeper level of the question. We've gone from the superficial, where I'm looking at you, to the subatomic level where we see the molecules and atoms all spinning, to the deepest level where what's really real is consciousness that's experiencing what you're experiencing right now. That's who you really are. All these things, and Patty will tell you that because she does past left regressions, all these things that we are in this lifetime, in the next lifetime we might be something totally different. And where we're coming is to the end of cycles of lifetime, as we really begin to accelerate. You know, all of these things, the Bible's a 7,000-year plan. The Mayan calendar has been over because we've gone into the 9th level of it. So what all of these ancient people were telling us, there is an end of this cycle of reincarnating when we really raise our consciousness and we begin to stretch out of just the 5 senses. So what I know for sure, at the deepest level, what each of you are at this moment is consciousness. And what I am is I am consciousness. At the deepest level, I know that for sure. Because I'm here experiencing everything. Even if I'm dreaming, doesn't matter if I'm dreaming, because I am consciousness. It's the substance of everything. You know, we talked about a few weeks ago the God particle, that they have found out this substance of everything, but this big machine outside of Switzerland, that there's a particle that everything in the universe, it inhabits eternity, and that's what it says in the Bible. It says, divinity inhabits eternity. There's no shadow of moving, and they've found this substance, meaning the underlying layer of everything. The invisible substance is applied, that is the attribute of all physical reality, and it's consciousness. It's consciousness, and that's what it is. And here's an example. It's like a canvas. Say I had a big canvas back here. That's your consciousness. And on that canvas, anything can appear. It can arrive and subside, and it can come in and out. And the picture that forms in the canvas is your whole life experience. Like I could have this canvas, and I could picture my mom and dad up there, and how I looked as a little girl. But then that would fade away. And then I would look when I got married, and when I had my children, and that would fade away. And then it would keep, that canvas would keep on. But behind the canvas, behind the picture, is the consciousness that never changes. Only those pictures on the screen continue to change. But the consciousness is that underlying substance, that consciousness that never changes. And the pictures that form in the canvas in your life are experienced, but they're always changing. And the only difference between a piece of art is that the artist puts a permanent picture on there, but we don't. We have that canvas, but we keep painting different parts of our life. But underlying all of that, what I know for sure is consciousness is right there, because everything in this universe is consciousness. And the one that's constant about your life is changing. And the one thing about your life is it's constantly changing. And here's a dichotomy, and I'm going to show it to you. I was trying to look up some philosophers and what they say, and some philosophers say, you know, life is all change. And then another philosopher says, nothing ever changes. So which one's right? If I ask you, who's right? Anybody want to venture to?
They both are.
That's exactly right. This changes, the picture, but the canvas never changes. So they're both right. Everything on your screen is constantly changing. But what's behind that underlying cause never changes. So they were both right. But the canvas refers to what is experiencing in life. It's your consciousness. So what I know for sure in this moment, whether I'm dreaming or awake, is I am consciousness. That I know for sure. Eternal, infinite, limitless, no beginning, no end, consciousness. That's what you know for sure too. That's because that's what you are. That's what all of us are. I am consciousness. But most people don't understand, and they're drawn to everything that's happening on the screen of their life, aren't they? They never go deeper. And the first thing in the morning, their what is it called? Text goes off, and boom, they're right into what's happening on the screen of their life, instead of digging deeper into what's really going on. And it brings us in. We've been hypnotized by outside stimuli. Think of the stimuli that we have in our life that generations before us didn't have. I mean, the moment you get up, you can turn on TV, your cell phone's ringing, all this stuff is happening the moment you get up, drawing you out into the 1%, and then we're directing our whole lives through the 1%. Instead of going deeper to direct our lives by the substance behind the 1%. We're all caught up and hypnotized in what's happening. How many people are talking about the election and the things that are going on in the world? That's the 1%. The 99% is behind all that. And we are so caught up. So there's not an awareness of the essential background of our lives. Their essential beingness, or the I am. The I am is the most profound truth, the most unquestionable truth that you will ever hear. And if you hear nothing else today, the most profound truth you will ever hear is I am consciousness. That's it. You're changing. The inside of me, myself, when we go out of here, you're not going to be the same person as when you sat down in those chairs. Everything in you is changing. But one thing, I am consciousness. That's the only thing that you can say, I know for sure, and it's so true. It's unquestionable. The answer, I know that for sure, but don't add anything to it, like I am Mary Lou, or I am speaking, or I am, because then it's tangible. Then it's changeable, and that's not truth. What's truth is I am consciousness. That doesn't change. So spiritual awakening is becoming aware of the dimension that exists within you. And the Bible says God is light. I've said about this photon energy. And then Jesus said, I am the light of the world, photon energy. And then he says, you are the light of the world, photon energy. What was he talking about? What is light a picture of? Consciousness. What he's saying is God is consciousness, divinity is consciousness. I am consciousness. And you are consciousness. Talking in a language that we can begin to understand light. It's like electricity. That we are all consciousness. And it's pointing us to get in touch with that dimension within ourselves. And I've said many times, when a sperm, inside the womb of a woman, when the sperm hits the ovum, the egg, there's a burst of energy. And the Bible says it this way, there's a light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. And that light is consciousness. We all come out of consciousness. How does a baby formed in the womb? How does the arms come out? When the heart starts beating, all of those things, there's something beyond, way beyond what we're looking at with these eyes. And that's where we're going. That's where, we're a small group in here this morning. But this small group, as we really awaken to what's going on in this world, we're changing it. If the wings of a butterfly can change the weather in Texas when they're in Brazil, you awakening to what you really know, understanding that your consciousness can change everything around you and everything in this world. When we could really see the web of how we're connected, just a small shift in consciousness changes everything. But it's pointing us to get in touch with that dimension. It's that state of awareness, alertness, of listening. It's about the presence without thinking. And this is something I've learned from going to the beach. It's experiencing yourself in pure presence. The gap between two thoughts is the I am present. When you experience one thought, and there's that gap before you jump into the next thought, that's that spaciousness that Eckhart Tolle talks about. That spaciousness where we can begin to experience that presence. It's learning to take away conceptions and labels and interpretations and judgments. And there's a way of knowing that goes beyond our senses, and this is what I've learned at the beach. Instead of going to the beach and naming the birds and saying, well, the beach is this old and this is a palm tree and all of those things, and how big the beach is, all those things, we can go with very little thought and just be alert and get our minds still and experience the underlying presence of that beach. That's what I begin to experience. Not all the birds, not all the things, but just getting in touch with that beach. And you can feel that underlying presence, which is consciousness. And you can do it in a forest, you can do it anywhere, but our labeling and our interpreting and always staying in the mind. You know, the minute you start speaking, you're really out. You're really out into that other dimension. You know, God dwells in stillness. This is be still. The voice of divinity is stillness. It's in that stillness, that sacredness. I feel like there's the beach that I go to, there's a sacredness there, a feeling of connection to a deeper level of that beach. That it's almost I can feel that the presence of that beach, which takes you to a connectedness with everything. Which I've learned when we begin to connect, it brings when you begin to conceptualize, in other words, naming everything, it brings in a division, it brings in a separation. Instead of just experiencing that presence, which brings you in connection with everything. And a shift in consciousness is happening so humans can relate to other humans in deeper level. I don't know about you, but I have so many people in my life that I love so much. And that I've had meetings with the last few weeks, and it's like there's just love and this appreciation and this deeper intimacy that's growing, and we've even talked about it. Like you feel this connectedness, this sacred relationships that are being birthed in this era, where we're really going in deeper. And it's without conceptualization. If we could look at people, you know, the first thing, they say people judge you within the first how many seconds after they meet you. But if you could quiet your mind, and don't, begin, judging, conceptualizing what they have on, and see from a deeper level what's going on inside of that person. It changes everything. And keep asking for that. So the essence of awakening is this feeling of shared consciousness, connectedness with everything and everybody. So the essence of awakening is to realize there's a form, a reality of others that's beyond what you see with your eyes. And then there's a formless, timeless essence of who you are. And you have to know your essence. This is another thing. You have to know your true essence before you're going to see the essence of anybody else. As long as you're judging yourself and, as long as you're seeing yourself in that way, until you see the truth of who you are, just like all the mystery schools said, know thyself, till you see the full truth of the beauty of who you are, you're not going to see the essence in anybody else. And that's what we're all waking up to. And I think that's one of the things that nature, connecting to nature really helps us to see. There's no lasting peace or joy until you can really connect to this, because everything is constantly changing. If you're connected to the canvas, you can find peace and happiness no matter what's going on. But if you're connected to the screen, that's constantly changing, and maybe you get a big job and a big pay raise, but it can change tomorrow. Then there goes the happiness. We're connected to what's happening on the screen. But if you learn how to connect to that canvas behind the screen that never changes, you can have those things that are coming and going, but you're connected to something that never changes. That's what I know for sure. That there's something that never changes, that we, at this moment, can connect to. Yeshua said, now the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Right now in this moment, there's something deeper that I can connect to. It's not changing all the time. My life is going to change. My kids grew up and left. Things happen in marriages. Everything happens. But when you connect to something deeper, it doesn't matter. Because you're supported. You know that you are connected to something that's infinite, limitless, timeless, spaceless. And that's where each and every one of us are being challenged in this moment, just by all the things that are going around us. So the purpose of our life is to embody awakened consciousness. That's what our purpose is, to embody that, to live it. When you can sense yourself as awareness, there's a presence, an inner dimension of consciousness that's available at this moment. And here's the key. Eckhart Tolle said it this way: you are never more essentially yourself than when you are still. You are never more your essential self than when you are still. I believe that with every breath within me. If you go to the beach, I've had people join me at the beach. And that's not where it's at for me. It's being there still. feeling that presence, connecting to something behind what's going on at the beach, behind the birds flying, behind the water coming in, connecting to the canvas of the beach, the presence of the beach, changes everything in your life. So what I know for sure is, for positively sure, completely sure that will never change, is that you and I are consciousness, and so it is.
So it is. And so it is.